Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Porn Free Millennial Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and I hope this podcast is finding you well whenever you're listening to it. And I've got a good message today. It's talking about and reflecting about our moments in life and why our moments matter, why each moment matters. And this is going to be a little bit of me reflecting on a trip I just got back from yesterday. I did a nice little 4 day weekend, traveled down to Florida to see one of my really good friends. And one of my other buddies came down too. And we had a great time. We love to fish, all of us do. And one of my buddies, I've known him since kindergarten. And my other buddy, I've known him since high school. And we've always had a passion for fishing and just friendship, spending time together, no matter what we're doing. And in college, we used to fish all the time. And then I think as we've gotten older, at least the last few years since my buddies moved down to Florida, we've made it at least an annual thing, if not twice a year, to go down there, rent a boat. My buddy's able to take us out. He's got his boating license. I think he's working on his captain's license as well. And we go out either in the Florida Keys. This time it was off the shores of West Palm Beach in Florida on the Atlantic side. And we just go out and we fish and we just have a good time and unplug from the grind, I think, of just the day-to-day stuff, right? And just reconnect with nature, with each other. So part of what we're going to do is I think just reflect on why moments matter, why each moment matters, and hopefully by the time you walk away from listening to this, hopefully when you walk away from this, there can be something that triggers within you. If you think that sometimes you're stuck, like I have many times, or that you're in this nasty cycle of porn use, right? It can really, it can really, I think, diminish, and it can take the positive energy away from memories, from moments that otherwise would have been that you would have looked back on with fondness, that you would have looked back on like this past fishing trip I was on with fondness and just having this clean and innocent and I'd say blissful experience, and then having the memory of that to where you can be proud of it, you can share it with other people, and then you can look forward to that experience again if you're so lucky to do that again, whatever that experience may be. And I want to reflect on that. I want to talk about it. And really, as a base for that, uh, I wrote about it yesterday, Monday, March 3rd, in my weekly break free newsletter that I get out every Monday. And I've been doing that now. I think this has been my 19th edition. So I've done it 19 weeks in a row every Monday, which has been pretty cool. It's not just a way for me to get out, I think, a theme, a topic, get something that's on my mind, be able to write about it and to spread that to my subscribers or just people that are on the Substack app. But it's not just a way to get a message out and to help people, but it's also helpful, I think, for me too in my sobriety to have something that is consistent, something that keeps me on the straight and narrow as well and keeps me motivated and keeps me thinking about different things that I can be working on personally that I can also share with others. So basically, yesterday I was finishing up in the airport actually in Tennessee. I was connecting flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Nashville, Tennessee, and then Nashville, Tennessee to Denver. So I had a little bit of time and was able to knock out this newsletter. And the newsletter's title is Our Moments Matter. So that's why we're talking about why our moments matter today. And I thought it'd be interesting just to go over parts of the newsletter. And within the newsletter, I actually wrote there was three stories that I shared, that I wrote in the past, that I think really hit home the message of why our moments matter and how I think porn use or different, pick your poison destructive habits that we might have, they really take away from the moment, not just the memory of the moment and the experience, but also while we're in the present moment, the addiction or the preoccupation with whatever the habit is, it can also take us out of being in the present and being in the moment, right? We hear that term a lot, being in the moment. And so I'm gonna read those actually off to you today. I'm gonna put the links as well in the show notes so that you can take a look and read them and share them if you'd like. But they mean a lot to me, these three different stories. So we're gonna read through them, and I think for each story, just talk about it a little bit. Hopefully, it'll be helpful for you as you listen to this. I just want you to think of moments, and are there moments in time in your life to where you look back on them and they're tainted by poor decisions, selfish decisions, or compulsive decisions. I think back in my life there's a lot of moments I remember now in hindsight to where they would have been they would be better remembered if porn wasn't a part of it. There were trips that I went on in my life, with my ex-wife, with past girlfriends, or just friends or family, to where I'd either look at porn at some point during the trip or I'd be preoccupied thinking about it. And I look back and I just ask myself, would that experience have been better? And would I be able to remember it better or cherish it better or have that sense of pride of, wow, that was really a great trip, or a great moment I had with that person, with my friends or with my lover? And do they feel the same way about it? Did they feel like I was present in the moment? And there's some moments I can look back on and say, may it feel that way most of the trip or most of the time during this experience, but there is that shadow, that darkening of that moment when I remember that I really wasn't truly present. I was preoccupied with something else. And in my case, it's porn or alcohol, and in some cases as well. So I just want you to think about that as I'm telling these stories. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a concept that I really developed actually to give a shout out to my girlfriend Cassie. We were talking about this, and this concept, these two concepts really, they're going to be back to back, are basically called the pregame and the nightcap. And really, what I was thinking about and what we talked about, what we hashed out together, and again, props to Cassie for uh, for just adding a lot to this concept and its development. But this is really talking about, I think, consuming porn, or again, this can apply, it's not just to porn, but I think to unhealthy habits in our lives, and things that are self-destructive but also affect other people. Basically, consuming or using or going to this habit, and we'll talk about porn, right? Let's just say watching porn before being intimate with your significant other, or watching porn before going on my fishing trip, watching porn before going to dinner with your parents, watching porn before X, Y, and Z, before the concert, before whatever the event is, something that's memorable, something that sticks with you. I mean, I remember times when I think about it of like I would like watch porn before seeing family. I can remember my grandpa on my dad's side would always ask me the last time I prayed the rosary. I always made a joke that my dad, when I was in college, would always ask me, when was the last time I changed my oil? And he'd always ask me about my truck in college, really to ask to say, like, hey, am I maintaining it? Am I being responsible? And I always remember my grandpa would do pretty much the same thing with the rosary and ask me, hey, when was the last time you did the rosary or prayed? Because I grew up Catholic. And I look back on that memory, and I'm sure many times before I saw my grandpa or when he asked me this question, I might have watched porn not too long before that. And so the pregame really is this ritual of consuming porn or indulging whatever that habit is before. It could be anything, right? But I would say for the practice of this podcast is really a significant event, or if we're to get deeper level, really where a lot of the hurt comes to people that we love is the intimacy before intimacy with your significant other. The pregame is would be watching porn before the intimacy. So I'm going to go ahead and read what I wrote, the pregame. The moment of passion, bodies tangled in a loving constriction, squeezing, pulsing, throbbing in a tender embrace of vulnerable magnetism. The fight from this morning forgotten, a long day at work, a distant memory. The only focus is his partner in the dance. And like any great song, the music eventually crescendos and then ends. Laying in bed after this dance, there's a somber tone, at least in his heart. For all the vulnerability that was displayed through the rhythm of his body, there were still secrets he held close. As his partner squeezes him in bliss and places her head on his chest, he stares up at the ceiling and asks, when am I going to tell her? How am I going to tell her? Am I going to tell her? His racing thoughts interrupted as she whispers, I love you, with him responding in a quieter tone, I love you too. In place of a flutter in his heart is a shudder of shame, for he knows her heart will break once again, for he danced with many partners hours before, pre-game partners of porn. Woo! It's kind of nuts reading that. It really, yeah, it hits me because that was me. That was me in my past relationship and relationships was the pregame, was choosing my selfish desire for satiation, for this sexual release, this escape, this medicating act that I thought would medicate, right? That I thought I could escape, but I wasn't really escaping or medicating. I was just prolonging, making it worse. It wasn't just harm I was inflicting on myself, but really my ex and past people I was with. Because I think when you commit to an act of intimacy with somebody, there has to be a certain level of trust and commitment that you're being selfless, that you're giving yourself to another person, and it's a really vulnerable place, right, for both people. But I think especially for women, for that person on the other side, they don't know that you were looking at porn right before, hours before, or a day before. So when it finally comes to the light that you were, I would think in their mind, understandably, there'd be a lot of hurt. There'd be a lot of second guessing, and there'd be a lot of comparison. There'd be a lot of pain, senses of betrayal, senses of, am I not good enough? Am I not good enough? And is that why you chose the pregame? And that's really what the sentiment came when I wrote this was I think capturing the beauty, right, of intimacy, the beauty of the moment. Now, this was more when I wrote it focused on intimacy and how that can be contaminated by the pregame. But I also think this can really relate to just other situations. important moments and milestones, that there's just that lurking secrecy that undermines the honest, hard-earned beauty of whatever that moment is. And I think the pregame is just cheap. It's just it's a cheap imitation of feeling rewarded and feeling a sense of a rush almost, or a sense of satisfaction, so to speak. And yeah, it's sombering and it sucks. It just takes away, I think, from the real beauty that can occur in these moments, in these milestones. And I think, at least in my life, it's really helped, I think, me stay in the present and stay committed to staying in the present, and not to do the pregame, not to take part in it, but to instead just enjoy the moment and enjoy what's going on. I don't need this in my life. I don't need this cheap distraction, this cheap escape. Let me experience life. Let me experience the good, the bad, the ugly. Let those moments define who I am. And I'm not defined by porn or my relationship with it. And it will not happen anymore. And I think that the pregame, hopefully, this message resonates to where when we choose to take part in the pregame, it's going to, I think, ultimately poison that moment, because ultimately the truth's going to have to come out with whoever you spent those moments with. And obviously, I think with intimacy, that's a lot more serious. It's going to come out. It's going to be a lot of hurt. And it's not like you have to come out to your family and say, hey, last birthday party I was at the bowling alley for my nephew, I watched porn right before and I wasn't present. It's not like you have to go out and tell people that. But I think it's more of, obviously, the intimate moments. Yeah, like that is something that you need to talk to your significant other about, right? Because if you just keep doing the pregame while you're being intimate, it's just going to build up over time, the pain that's going to occur when the truth comes out. So it's better just not to be a part of the pregame. But I think ultimately, would you rather just be present in these moments than not being present? I think you're not fully present when you're initiating in the pregame, or you're planning out the pregame before a moment that you could be, could be in your memory forever. These are important things. So that's the pregame. Now we're going to jump into the nightcap. So the nightcap is opposite the pregame. It's something that is done after. So think about being intimate, and then after you're intimate, you go off. Let's just say it's at night. You sneak off while your partner, significant other is asleep, and you go consume porn. Or it could be, hey, I had a great time fishing with my friends. Now I'm in my room by myself in this Airbnb. Now I'm going to look at porn. Uh, and again, it's an inward act. You're acting in. It's a selfish act. It's an isolating act. I think ultimately it pulls you away, because let's just say I was fishing with my friends. We fished Saturday and Sunday. Like, what if I got in from the flight, we're all hanging out, and the only thing I'm thinking about is, oh, I can't wait to get away by myself so I can look at porn. Am I being really present with them, or is it kind of just like they're a nuisance to me? Like I just can't wait till I'm done with these people so I can go stroke it to some hot babe on porn. When those words come out of my mouth, it just sounds very selfish and sad, because really, I think moments spent with other people where you're interacting with each other in a genuine way, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think when we go off and we look at porn by ourselves, it's an isolating thing. It's a sad thing. It's a destructive cycle. So the nightcap's really afterwards. So we'll go ahead and read that. All right. The nightcap. An intimate feast with your beautiful date, the flavor of each other's passion salivating the senses. The essence of the lovers entices the mind and the body into a firm embrace. Like a fine steak after it is finished, the couple is full and satiated, or at least one is. After she falls asleep, her partner slowly slips out of bed, not to wake her. While the steak tasted great, his mind is already locked into his next meal. Something tasty, something easy, something intoxicating, something he knows he shouldn't have but desires nonetheless. A bag of chips hidden in the dark corner of the pantry, his secret spot. A decadent delight. The first salty crisp pulls him into a dopamine daze. One chip leads to two, two to three, three to many. Never quite full, always looking for one more chip until the bag is empty. What he thought would provide satisfaction only made him feel aches and bloat. Shame slices at his heart as he knows that the experience with his woman was more than enough and should have been his last taste of flavor for the night. But the deed has been done, the pull of the potato chip too strong for his will. This is the last time, he solemnly swears. But he knows it is an empty promise. Like his deed, the empty bag is buried in a tomb of secrecy. As he gets into bed, feeling the regret of the meal, the only solace the man feels is that the chips are gone and that he could start fresh tomorrow without the pain of the truth to affect his partner's experience. After racing thoughts, the man succumbs to sleep. He wakes to an empty bed. Feeling the weight of last night's snack, he slowly lumbers to the door and opens it, seeing his woman. Her face is distraught and is swollen with tears, holding the empty bag of chips. You had crumbs on your shirt again. So obviously I'm using a metaphor analogy. I always kind of get them too mixed up. I need to, brush up on my English. But anyways, I'm using a comparison here, obviously, to eating junk food in the middle of the night after having a nice meal, and how, yeah, that it's like, did it really need to happen? Did you really need that bag of chips? Did you really need to sneak off? If you're sneaking off to do something, that should tell you right there that it's not healthy. It's not a good thing. I think in our culture, I think almost we've glorified being secretive and getting our guilty pleasures. But I think in all reality, it's very destructive and it's very harming. And like the pregame, I think this one's just as bad. It's like we've experienced this great moment with another person, this intimacy, right, with our significant other, or just something that is a really amazing moment, something that should be cherished. And then we go ahead and we, instead of just riding on that good momentum and savoring it and being content, we need to feed that hunger that is really never satisfied, really, when you think about it. Like, I never really truly felt satisfied with porn. It's always has to be another time, always has to be something else, maybe something more provocative. And it's like a bag of chips when you think about it. Like, I can't personally, when I start a bag of chips, it's really hard for me to finish. I just don't have that self-control. Like, if I start with one chip, it's going to be, before I know it, I'm just like, I need to finish the bag. Like, I need to keep going because I'm not full and it tastes so good. And I know it's bad for me, but I just can't stop. That's how I feel with potato chips. Guilty as charged. But I think the same thing is like with porn, is we just keep going, 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 and then eventually those crumbs, right? The breadcrumbs or the potato chip crumbs, right? it's going to be visible for whoever we're with. They're going to eventually find out through that by following the breadcrumbs. And they're going to say, there's crumbs on your shirt again. And it's going to be heartbreaking for them because it's not like this is the first time. This is like the 100th time or however much, however many times you do it, we just keep doing it. And we say we're going to stop, but we keep going. And I think that's why the nightcap can be really painful for us because it's just this. It's like we want to put a cherry on top of whatever it was, but it's not really a cherry. It's just something rotten, something stale, something that in our mind we remember it as something that is very tasty and very sweet. But in all reality, it might look that way on the surface, but once we eat that cherry on top, maybe it tastes good initially for the first second, but then once you swallow it, you immediately regret it. And it's going to come back to bite us at some point because the truth always comes out. So those are the first two articles, the pregame, the nightcap. Definitely topics I'll probably talk about again because I do think that they provoke a different way to think about things. And that's really a big part of why I do this podcast and why I write is I just hope that coming at our relationship with porn from a different angle through a short story, through a poem, through a newsletter, through different ways means it can help unlock a different way of thinking for you that you can come away from this thinking about porn in a different way. Because I know for me in my life, it took me it took me until close to 30 to really think about porn any differently. I just always had this preconceived acceptance, I suppose, of it that, hey, this isn't good for me, but I can't really quit it. It's impossible. And I didn't really change my mind until I heard someone else talk about it in a different way. So hopefully this helps you. So last one before we wrap it up. So this is a very personal story. I'll probably elaborate on this one a little bit more. But this is actually something I wrote in my other Substack called Max Musings. And this Substack's really for me just to write about other things besides porn and addictions. Even though I write about other things on my Porn Free Millennial channel, Max Musings is just a way for me to write fictional stuff, just whatever's on my mind. It's a little bit lighter and it just opens up the door for me to write about other things. So this is actually from my other publication, Max Musings. But this one is called Shoot to Make It. So this is actually a mantra that my dad used to say a lot to me when he coached me in basketball and when we played against each other in the front yard. He just always tell me, shoot to make it. And so this article, this story is about that and about moments missed and moments made. So this really, I think, hopefully can hit home the point of like why our moments matter. And really the pregame and the nightcap are talking about the moments, talking about whatever that moment is, whatever that important moment is, the moments before it, the moments after it really matter too, right? Because those are what solidify that memory is what happened before it, during it, after it. So we'll talk about shoot to make it, moments missed, moments made. Shoot to make it. My dad and I love basketball. We used to play hoops in the front yard almost every day when I was growing up. He was also my coach for many years. One thing that always stuck with me was him saying, shoot to make it. Odds were, after hearing this mantra from my father, I would hit my next shot and start actually playing the game. As I've grown older, this basketball themed mantra of shoot to make it became more of a theme in my life. I think there's a lot of moments in basketball and in life where we are just throwing a shot up and hoping it goes in. How I interpreted his mantra, though, is the word intention. If you're going to take a shot, take a good one and take the shot to make it. There's countless times in my life when I was just throwing up Hail Mary three-pointers, hoping that they went in, and in those moments, my shot would be an air ball. Just completely miss it. Moments missed. Moments missed in my past marriage, moments missed to mature as a young man, moments missed to say goodbye, moments missed to make a good impression, moments missed to be more thankful, moments missed to be more humble, moments missed to be strong in the face of adversity, moments missed to know, moments missed to grow, moments of intimacy wasted, moments missing the sweet victories and how they tasted. Moments. Make the most of your moments. There's also been countless victories gained through devoted intention to the trajectory we have defined. The moment of victory, falling in love. The moment of victory, satisfied in your hard work. The moment of victory, smelling the roses. The moment of victory, defying the odds. The moment of victory in your Lord's arms. The moment of victory, feeling weightless. The moment of victory, heaven on earth. In the moments where a shot must be taken, which are many in life, we must thrive to have flowing intention that will cut a path through the arduous obstacles of our main opponent, time. The only way to truly defeat time is by making our shots count, our moments that matter. The more moments that we make, the more we are playing this game the right way, and we are ahead. The more moments we miss, the more we lose to the game. We get swept up in the game versus being in control of it. As you ponder this musing, ask yourself, am I shooting to make it? So I think when I think about that with the mantra, yeah, it's about intention. It's about the realization that we only have one life and to make the most of your moments. When you take your shot, take it to make it. When you're in your marriage, when you're in your relationship, when you're in the present moment of whatever it is, make that moment count, shoot to make it, have intention. Because I think just like in a basketball game, you're not going to be able to play it back. Once the game's over, it's over, right? You either win that game or you lose that game. You either make the moment or you miss the moment. And I think we miss the moments when we're not in the present, when we're not truly in the moment. And I think we make the moment when we are there, we are experiencing it. And again, that doesn't mean that the moment has to always be this positive thing. I mean, I just wrote about and I did a podcast last year about my grandma passing away, which was 2 years ago. And how I'm just so thankful that I was in the moment, that I was sober, that I had a clear mind when she went to the hospital and then when she passed away 2 weeks after. That was a moment that was made. That was a moment I can remember and remember being truly present, being there when it counted, being there when the moment mattered, when my mom needed me, when her mom was dying, to be there for my mom and to have a shoulder for her to cry on and to be someone of strength, someone of clarity, and to also embrace the sadness myself and to remember a life well lived. That's moments that matter. Those are the moments that matter in our lives. And these moments that we're spending with porn instead of with people, with being present in the moments, it's a waste. It's a waste of a moment. It's a missed moment to spend our time on this thing. It only takes, it doesn't give, it takes. It's a vampire. It just sucks the energy out of us and the energy out of the ones we love as well, because it's daunting to have to, I think, live with someone and to be in a relationship with someone that cannot stop even though they want to. So, but there's a way out. I'm living sober from it. I'm living a porn-free life, have been, and many others do as well. You're not alone, because I was just where you were. If you're listening to this and you're struggling, I was missing a lot of moments, but I think I really started to turn around where I started to realize that all the moments matter, our moments matter, and to shoot to make it, to act with intention, to not engage in the pregame or the nightcap, to just be intentional and to intentionally live, I think, to see people as people, to treat myself with respect, treat others with respect, and just to live free, right? I talk about that a lot, but to break free from porn prison and stay free and to be free, right? So that's the message today is our moments matter. Hopefully that was helpful for you. So just other housekeeping items, like I was talking about, I do write on Substack under Porn Free Millennial and my other publications, Max Musings. Definitely subscribe to those, check them out. I'll put the links in the description. And then also, I am doing one-on-one coaching to help you build momentum if you are struggling with porn. I do have free consultations that are 30 minutes long. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in coaching, having some additional help on your journey, email me at pornfreemillennialcoaching@gmail.com. And then I do offer some discounts for paid subscribers, as well as bundle packages. If you'd like to purchase the paid coaching sessions in a bundle, you do get a discount on that as well. So here to help. And if you don't prefer coaching, that's okay too. Hopefully this podcast finds you well. I also do have a 52 Weeks of Freedom series as well. That's every Friday I post about. And typically about 75% of that article is free. And then paid subscribers get full access to the article. And it really is just geared towards every week having actionable direction and guidance from me on topics that are really helpful, foundations of sobriety. And I think just each week it just gives a blueprint on how to have a sober week. And eventually, if you do it every week, right, you have a sober year, which is a great milestone, a great place to launch out from. So with that being said, I really appreciate you listening to the podcast and make the most of your moments moving forward. Keep fighting the good fight. Break free from porn prison. Stay free and be free. Much love, everybody.